We do have a critical mass of people, so thank you everybody for being here. I'm Nati Karfi, the ED of the Open Data Charter. On just a quick note, we are recording the session, so if you don't want to be recorded, please just do not put your camera on. I'm going to pass the baton to our civil society co-chair of the implementation working group, Larissa. We're going to be talking about smart cities, and we have a great panel, so thank you everybody who joined. And remember that we have interpretation services, both in Spanish and English. You just have to press the button and decide your language. Larissa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nati. My name is Larissa. First of all, my apologies because of the noise. So I'm on another event today. Let's move on. We are pleased to have our three distinguished speakers today to discuss a bit about how you can manage data ecosystem and data governance in smart cities. As you know, the debate about data ecosystem and governance in the context in the city is a fundamental step to support and to achieve SDGs. So our speakers will present to you about projects regarding to the resource and capabilities to promote human rights and the human rights and digital rights, and the collection data across multiple actors, and at least to combine different emerging technologies in high-value data sets. So let's move on for our speaks. Today we start with Florencia. So welcome, Florencia. Florencia Serale works in digital rights consultant for NEU Habitat. She now works in the project related to people-centered. Before joining the NEU Habitat, Flor was a part of Open Data Charter and support us in this group, but she also have experience at FAO and a consultant for Open Data Institute and previous work with Inter-American Development Bank. So Flor, it's yours. Thank you so much.
I'm going to see if we can get
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be back on the implementation working group. For the ones that I haven't met, my name is Florencia Serale. I work in the People Centers Smart City flagship program at UN Habitat. And today I'm gonna speak about how we can better use technologies and data, how we can leverage them to address the SDGs. Let me share can you see my screen? Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Thank you. So my presentation today will be around the international guidelines on people-centered smart cities. This is our main project for this year, and our main goal is to have those international guidelines ready to be approved next year. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the importance of these international guidelines. First of all, this is extremely important because technology is disrupting our lives in cities. We are currently using data for evidence-based policies, for urban planning, for mapping and spatial planning, but also public administration, especially at the local government, are leveraging data and technologies to be more transparent with their citizens, but also more efficient in service providing. And data is also in the local ecosystems, creating jobs for startups, for SMEs, and it's also enabling greater participation of residents in decisions. But also, technology and data poses new challenges and risks for local governments. So local governments are at the forefront of digital transformation, but they also face many challenges and risks. First of all, the smart city traditional model has a supply side and technology-driven way of providing solutions. So they end up engaging in long-term contracts with technologies that are being used or tested somewhere else, or sometimes they are the test beds of these technologies. Sometimes technologies leave too many behind. This is due to sometimes lack of skills, digital literacies, but also data gaps. So sometimes technology reinforces existing physical gaps and challenges. Then there is also the risk of human rights protection. So sometimes human rights are not protected nor promoted online. And this is due to data management practices, data governance practices that are really weak, data protection, of course, surveillance and privacy and ethical considerations of technologies. And there is also a lack of transparency and accountability on how, for example, AI-enabled systems that use a lot of data is actually used in cities, and how these systems are taking decisions that might affect people's lives. Many of these challenges are due to a lack of data governance regulation, especially in local governments. So there are also data gaps in cities, and this data comes from a global review of smart city governance that we conducted in 2022. So 250 local governments responded some questions regarding data governance. And for example, automated data is used only in the global north. So 81% respondents from high-income countries are using this data, but this is like really low in low-income countries. Then interoperability is a challenge because many agencies are using different infrastructures to crunch this data, and some local governments do have data portals, but they are not using analytics to use and crunch this data. So there are many challenges. One is collaboration, so like interagency collaboration, specifically to use this data for specific purposes, for example, social protection or transportation, is not being effectively used. So like these challenges are also data, well, many of them are data challenges. So at Smart City, we have a vision. So we want to use data, innovation, and technology to make a life better in cities and communities. We want to use these solutions for sustainable urban transformation. And we have 3 key considerations for this approach. The first, as I said, is aligning these solutions with sustainability priorities. So using technologies effectively to address people's needs. Secondly, fostering digital inclusion, so addressing gaps before we even talk about technology or data. And lastly, and most importantly, is protecting and promoting human rights offline and online. And we have unpacked the approach in 5 pillars. There's a playbook code. You can download our playbook series, but essentially the approach has 5 main pillars. One is how to empower people and communities. Data is in this pillar. One of our considerations is how to effectively make people have the right skills and literacies to effectively use this data for their own decisions. Then, of course, securely managing data and digital infrastructure. Data portals is part of the digital infrastructure. It's really important to have the right regulations in place to mitigate risks regarding surveillance and also data protection. Then making access to technology equitable, safeguarding trust of data and infrastructure, and then multi-stakeholder collaboration for capacity building. We have 5 ways of engaging with member states and local governments. One is global advocacy, and I'm going to talk a little bit in the next slide. But then we also have 3 more lines of action. One is capacity building. So we have books. We have playbooks, we have provided guidance on specific technologies and how they are used in cities, for example, in AI or blockchain. We have implemented a digital rights governance project to understand how, for example, data governance works in cities and how data governance practices are actually protecting or not digital human rights. Thirdly, we have advisory services. So we have a digital help desk for cities, and we have also provided guidance, for example, to local governments and to national governments. We have provided, for instance, we have designed the master plan of Rwanda. We also have an accelerator for cities. And then we finance projects directly. One is our open innovation for climate action. I think there was we invited Namrata last year to talk a little bit about it, but some of the challenges relate to how local governments, for example, the city of Bogota is actually using data to enhance transport in the city. But today I want to talk a little bit about the global goal that we had last year. So member states have mandated UN Habitat to develop international guidelines on people-centered smart cities. And this is extremely important for us because all these pillars and everything, our normative and our practical work is now conducted throughout these international guidelines. They will be a non-binding framework. However, it will contain principles and duties for different people in the ecosystem to implement the approach and also to advance in more equitable policies and strategies. The objectives of the guidelines, of course, is to let's say, repurpose the narrative of smart city to talk about people-centered smart cities, to understand what means to be people-centered in smart city development, then offer practical guidance to national, local governments, but also to civil society organizations and academia, and then to advocate for people-centered smart city in other international and UN system normative frameworks. Some of the values of the guidelines have data everywhere, including values of people, also using data to reduce the environmental impact, but also to measure and to understand how digital transformation is also having environmental footprint. Transparency, of course, multi-level digital governance. Data governance is part of the digital governance. Protecting privacy and also creating digital capacities and economic opportunities and how data can leverage this. So the guidelines are actually in the first part of the drafting process, but so far we have 7 thematic areas. We have digital infrastructure and city services, digital governance, community engagement, environmental sustainability, capacity development, and economic development. And as you can see, we are providing recommendations regarding data in all of them. So I will now explain ways of collaboration. We are drafting right now the international guidelines, but now we are also starting with the consultation process. So we are conducting stakeholder consultations with civil society organizations, with the UN system, with private companies. We also have a group of 31 experts that are advising on these guidelines. So one way would be actually participating in our consultations and providing input. And we will also, and I will share with the group once we have it, we will have a survey. So you can also provide principles and commitments directly into the document. And we are also open to collaborations to research on specific topics of these guidelines. And last thing to say in this presentation is that local governments actually have a great role in the Global Digital Compact. They are starting to be mentioned in the Global Digital Compact in the first draft. But for the ones that don't know what the Global Digital Compact is, it's part of the Pact of the Future. And it's a set of principles that will shape the way we build our free and secure digital future. So there are many pillars, and I invite everyone to look at this conversation because it has a lot of topics regarding data governance, data ownership, and there are also open consultations and ways of engagement. So that's all for me. I left some context and I'm really looking forward for the rest of the presentations and also to continue this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Flor. So just a quick comment. This project is really important It's a basement for the city in the Measure Award. Thank you so much to share with us these insights. For sure, you will be pleasant to share all the information in our networks. Okay, so now we will move on for the Hector. Hector Dominguez is a PhD engineer, which is over the 15 years in a professional career, international experience, developing industrial projects. He also is a specialist in research and developing emerging technology. And nowadays, he is a coordinator of the City of Portland Open Data, Privacy, and Serverless Technology. So thank you so much, Hector. It's your floor right now. Feel free to share your presentation.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. I feel like I'm with my people right now. I know some of you we have shared like spaces, and I really appreciate the invitation and to let me share what we are doing locally in Portland, which is a lot. So I put together like this small presentation, uh, just focus on open data. However, the work that I'm involved also includes, is within the smart cities umbrella, but also includes privacy, surveillance technologies, and relatively recently, within a year, like artificial intelligence. So my name is Hector Dominguez. I go by he, him pronouns. I'm coordinating work on open data, privacy, surveillance technologies, and AI. And I joined the city of Portland in 2018. So it's about like 6 years of work, pretty much trying to follow some of these ideas and principles. When I started coming from the private sector to join the city of Portland, uh, the first thing, I joined as the open data coordinator. And the first thing that we did was, okay, what is open, what is not open? And that led to start working on privacy. And because privacy is a human right, so we really started collaborating very, very closely with our Office of Equity and Human Rights, which immediately centered all the language that we were using, rather than being more like data center or city need center. So it was a challenge and say, okay, what about if we put these from the perspective of the community? We start putting our privacy principles from the perspective of the community. We start putting programs from the perspective of the community, and it's been a long journey, and however, has really been a big differentiator between what we have been able to do in the city of Portland compared with other places. So I'm very proud of that. So open data is really a great tool, not only to be more transparent, more responsible as a government, but also to understand who we are. So this, like all this information that you are seeing, this screen comes from the latest demographics analysis that we have done in the city of Portland, using census data or other information available publicly in general. The city of Portland is about 650,000 people, the 24th largest city in the US. It's mostly white, mainly European descendants living in Portland, 64% based on the latest census data. However, if you see the demographics in terms of age, is changing. Younger generations are a lot more diverse, and we are going to see that a lot more on how our city is evolving and growing older, or like growing in general. So anyway, so in Portland, just at the end, we speak not only English or Spanish, but also Vietnamese, Chinese, Russian, Somali, Ukrainian, Romanian, Nepali, and Chuukese. So these are languages that are spoken for more than 1,000 people based on the latest census data. And we also have like demographically, like where within the city we are distributed. So some maps here. You can see, for instance, models that we have been building together. The models on the left are about risk of gentrification and displacement in the city. So the darker, the higher the risk. And you see that there are already some blue and purple neighborhoods there. Those were at risk 10 years ago, and now they are already completely gentrified, and people, originally families who live there, so they are already displaced. So we have also economic vulnerability in the bottom left side, which is the darker, the more economic burden those families are going through. The one on the bottom right, so it's actually a diversity score that we have built in the city. So the greener, the more diverse the neighborhood in general. And what you see in the animation is actually the heat dome that the city of Portland lived in 2021. And basically the hottest areas are actually pretty much mapped on the places where there is more economic vulnerability, more diversity, and more risk of displacement. So open data can tell a lot of history and the stories, personal stories as well. So that was in 2021. 10 years ago, the city of Portland, or before, we were experiencing maybe 1 or 2 climate events every 10 years. Now we're experiencing at least 2 climate events every year. And we need to be ready for that. And data can be a great tool. Anyway, so going quickly, Open Data was created originally in 2009, and then we have a revision in 2017. And then the city of Portland has an open data policy, like a data open by default policy. The Smart Cities program, as I mentioned, includes privacy, surveillance, open data, data governance, and data services, and more recently, AI and automated decision systems in general. So before COVID, we have a vision about open data, like a kind of utopian, right? So we wanted to build this Portland urban data lake where different jurisdictions, so the city of Portland in the same geography is actually part of 3 different counties, which is quite complex. We're part of 3 different counties. It's very close to, it's at the border with Washington State. So we are within Oregon, but we are very close in collaborating with Washington State in a number of issues. So it's quite diverse. We were trying to put together or create this Portland urban data lake with all these different people. So we had like all these envisioning things, and anyways, we dream about data. However, COVID happened and it disrupted a lot. And then we started looking into the real challenges of open data implementing, right? So it's really hard to make open and usable in general. It needs a lot of process for curation. There are like different steps and talent, people involved to make like that data usable. And it has just a certain life for the data to be usable, right? So data from 5 years ago is not gonna work now. So it needs maintenance. It can also highlight inefficiencies within the system, and sometimes that creates that people don't want to release the data because, well, there is like these more systemic issues around that. There are risks about using data incorrectly or having data missing in general, and then creating models from partition data. There are privacy and security concerns, and then we may have this mosaic effect where there is not a single source of truth. So there are different perspectives, including the public, the community's perspective and views, and having their own community data also being part of this conversation. So that definitely is a big challenge. We're trying to integrate privacy, so we develop our privacy principles. We try to see privacy and data like full, like life cycle in general, from creation, transformation, destruction, and reuse. Data in general is this business intelligence and can be a digital asset. There are different ways in which we can perceive the data. So you can see here some dashboards, the Portland maps, dashboards about how we are using budgets. Currently, we are having a project on implementing the open contracting data standard, just to be more transparent around how the city uses, like who contracts with the city, who subcontracts with the city, and then create a little bit more trust in general and information, and create more fair economic development. yeah, data has to be open, and that means that also has to be downloadable, and accessible from the technical perspective, right? So one example that we are really proud is that we, in one of our privacy assessments that we did for police, so we really recommended to have drone usage open and available and to the public as open data in general, and they did it. And so far, we have gotten for drone data for the last year, we have got 0 public record requests because all the data was available there. Anyway, so right now, bureaus, I mean, data in the city is still siloed. We are working on every day trying to break those silos, but it's still every agency in the city own their own data. There is no central repository. We have some big repositories, but not still central one. We are collaborating with different groups to try to put together this single open data portal. It will take some time. However, we already have an open data handbook that describes the workflow and curation and all that technical aspects of data. And then, yeah, creating also around that procedures and processes that can be very technical, can be very expensive, and that we recognize that that's definitely another barrier for everybody. So every year we celebrate Open Data Day, and we have presentations. We already have like YouTube presentations to create more public awareness outside and inside the city on data and open data issues. We invite everybody to our open data discotheques. Discotheques are really a term that we borrow from activists from Detroit and Oakland, and it means discovering technology. So yeah, we have been doing like a couple of those very successfully. Right now, what's the future? So we are still figuring out how to break out the silos. We are in collaboration with other jurisdictions, including the state of Oregon, and then working with some academic institutions on exploring ideas. Cybersecurity, obviously artificial intelligence are big topics for us right now. And then expanding, yes, more this year, we are doing a specific effort around literacy, public literacy, digital literacy, and open data, digital rights in general, and how to do better community engagement. And one of the examples, just to finish, is that we are putting together an art exhibit. If you don't know, I'm an immigrant here in the United States, and I'm learning about a lot of history. I recently, relatively speaking, but a few years ago, I learned about the work of W.E.B. Du Bois, and he put together for the 1900 Paris Exposition these beautiful data visualizations, 1900, explaining how the Black community, just few decades after the abolition of the slavery, was very important and contributing actively for the economic development of the US, right? So we are trying to take this and put together an art exhibit with all that, and then inviting, we call it W.B. Du Bois and the Digital Griot, in inviting youth particularly to send projects using data as a storytelling tool for their own and current history, whatever it is, right? And just like W.E.B. Du Bois did in 1900, we are putting, we have like a small corner in one of our main buildings. So where the art exhibit is going to be there from August to October. And yeah, so we're very excited about that. And with that, thank you so much for the time. I'm be over a little bit, but thanks.
Thank you so much, Hector, to share with us these insights and how you go forward with this project in Portland. It's amazing to see how you bring key partners, but also key dimensions in the same project. Thank you so much. So moving forward for your last speaker, Antonio. Antonio is a technical responsible related spotted project that we are discussing today about satellite data. But Antonio also is expert in ECT technology. He works in an open data and government project. He has been working with numerous different projects in Europe. which the funding comes from the European Commission. So let's learn from them right now about this quite interesting project with the combining emerging technology and high-value data set. Thank you so much. It's your floor, Antonio.
Thanks a lot, Larissa. Can you see my screen? Okay. So I'm the technical coordinator, as Larissa said, for the Spotted project. Just to give you a brief view of the context in which Spotted is working, is the implementing act on a high-value data set from the European Commission wants to provide from the public administration to publish the data in open and machine-readable format. And this is important in particular for some strategic categories, including something like air preservation, statistics, and mobility. And this kind of data is considered an high-value data set that should be disseminating through the standard interface in order to be used through the artificial-based application to provide better services for citizens and improve the quality of services. The Spotted, that means satellite open data for smart city service development, started more or less 3 years ago and ends in the end of next August. We are different partner coming from the public administration, large enterprise, small and medium enterprise, and NGOs. What is the aim of the project? So making the first step to support what the European Commission is asking, so the implementation of high-value data sets, the project wants to facilitate the public authorities in the management of green areas, exploiting the power of data, and supporting the policymaker in the analysis of this high-value data set. And in particular, in Spotted, we are using geospatial, Earth observation, and statistical data set. What we are our result, what we can provide to our customer, let me say. We provide an innovative solution based on an integrated customized analysis of a large number of open data, including, of course, Earth observation, in order to monitor what happens in the city, to manage the green areas management, and to support decision taker to take the better decision. And we combine different disruptive technologies such as artificial intelligence, cloud storage, and cloud computing, providing specific, customizable, tailored dashboard to monitor and predict emerging land change. So we have, in principle, 4 objectives. The first one is the cross-border services. We would like to provide services that can be adapted and customized in each cities, and we have 3 cities in the project as pilot, where we are running our experimentation phase. And we want to exploit, of course, the Earth observation data coming from the, for example, Copernicus program, European Copernicus program. And we would like to provide to third party a standard APIs, so standard interface, in the way that the third party can interact easily in a standard model with our framework, and provide our output, our analyzed data in output available through the European data portal, the national data portal, and in general international data portal. And then we want to reuse some specific data platform with following and performing the data semantic harmonization in order to ensure the harmonization coming from different typology of data from different cities or use case in general. And what are our key exploitable assets? The first one is the technical framework that provide in the end a visual dashboard and maps that is the spotted digital service that we can talk later. The pilot service application, so each pilot defines some AE specific application by exploiting the high value data set. And of course, we provide an impact assessment, elaboration of a methodology, a framework, and that includes a set of indicators for execution and test of the pilot. And finally, lesson learned and guidelines for the policymaker and the public administration. We have 3 pilot cities where we are experimenting our services. The first one is Milan, that with Spotted wants to plan the developing of a data platform to analyze and predict urban, social and economic impacts of green transformation initiative. And this platform will help the policymaker in order to provide this kind of tool to develop sustainability program in the Milan city, and in particular in the Milan building regeneration plan and municipality de-sealing action. Then we have Helsinki in Finland in order to monitor sustainability of tourism in urban planning, and Spotted wants to provide data and tools for monitoring and planning green areas in terms of understanding how the tourism impact and be impacted of the green areas and in the urban context. And the main focus is on provide useful data and develop processes to utilize satellite data for climate change adaptation and mitigation to support the green areas management in order to achieve the city's carbon neutrality goals. And last but not least, cities is Naples, that more focus on monitoring urban regeneration strategy. In fact, with the Spotted service in Naples, wants to guide the redesign and the replanning in the city urban residual natural area by using imaginary coming from the satellite and AI algorithm tool in order to understand the landscape, manage the accessibility and the safety and comfort of population by impacting on urban reforestation, restoration of tree, and reduce of urban heat, in particular the Thailand. And this is something that is common also in all the 3 pilots. How the Spotted work? In particular, we collect data from different data sources, from satellite, but also from a national European data portal. And we collect this kind of raw data in a contest broker that provide us all the data collected like a database, and the processing block analyze this data and provide this derived data, the analyzed data to the European data portal. At this moment, the Spotted meets his goal, because the visualization of the data is demanded to the city portal. So each city portal can harvest data from the European data portal published by Spotted, and they can publish and visualize data according to their specific needs. So skip this very technical part. What in the end Spotted delivers the Spotted digital services. What is the Spotted digital services? So starting from what the cities wants to measure, for example, the relation between the natural capital and the earth, or the land consumption evaluation, Spotted collect all the data, so satellite data, open data, and open data, and analyze this data in order to provide a final data set that is the analyzed data. And this final data set is something that you can use in also to visualize the result in a map, as we will see in a while. And we will provide according to the needs of our city, 3 digital services. The first one is a urban heat exposure that calculate the urban heat exposure for different urban future, for example, in the cycle path of the cities, in the parks, in the public buildings, in the public part. The urban heat vulnerability, that is similar to urban heat exposure, but this service calculates heat exposure in relation to vulnerable population and critical services, for example, the gardens, healthcare, or hospital. A urban green index that give us the objective method for identifying and calculating all green area in the city. And for example, in the city of Milan, we use the urban heat vulnerability in order to calculate the natural capital and soft mobility by using the cycle path, the transportation, the cycle path, and the data coming from the Sentinel-2 satellite. And this is what we have in the end. On the left side, you can see just the open data coming from the bike path of Milan. And on the left side is the final result of the urban heat exposure service. That is a mix between the map and the cycle path, with different color. And this is the analysis started from the satellite data and mix the satellite data with the open data of the vehicle path. So red means that the height is very high, and yellow so and so, and green is the cycle path in that particular zone of the of the city is good. And we can compare these services in different period of the years, and we already did it, and we saw that of course the results change. And another service is the natural capital and green areas, where in Helsinki we used the registrable public areas, the parks and gardens, and also the Sentinel data, where we use why we use the Sentinel data? Because we can refer to the infrared spectrum in order to understand the temperature of the zone. And this is the final urban green index, where more green is the map, more green area is present in the city. So in the end, what is the lesson learned we had we discover, we learn from the project? For sure, usually we have a lot of amount of data. So a lot of time we talk about data availability. In this case, we can talk about data availability versus data usability, because we had a lot of data, but not the most were usable. And sometimes we have data, but they are not public, or sometimes we have good data, but they can't publish as open data. So and the data unlocking, let me say, in general, is not a technical issue, but this could be viewed as a methodological change management procedural issue. Is something that embrace more behavior, more all the environment among the data. And maybe it's better to produce a methodology on how we can unlock data and break the silos, as Hector said in his presentation. And for sure, made the human-centric, so put the people at the center of the analysis of the decision, is the better way to produce better policy governance and to have a better informed policy by exploiting the power of data. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Antonio. I will make a brief comment because I want to give a chance for our audience to make questions. I just want to say I'm very happy to have this project today and to have you today here. The presentation shows us how you have a project that can target different levels for smart cities and open data. Example, for instance, as you can see, Flor shows us how cities that in the first step can increase data strategy, data management, regulation, and the basement. When you move forward for the actor, you can see how you can think in the project in the long term, how you should bring privacy and information technology and transparency and security and the same approach in the same office, discuss all these together, different key actors. And when you move on for our last presentation, Antonio showed us how it's important, how you can work better with harmonized data when you have a technology and can cross-border data for different cities, etc. So I'm sure that our audience today can bring different insights for those projects. So I'm just open now for questions. Please feel free to raise your hand to make your questions or put on the chat if you're be shy, but not to be shy. This panel, this meeting, it's for you. Okay, so someone want to talk, ask, make a comment, please feel free. Okay, so let me triangulate the discussion a bit. I start with Antonio just because...
Larissa, perdón.
Yeah, go, please.
Perdón, tenemos dos preguntas.
Oh, I'm sorry, because I cannot see. Yeah.
Perdón,
so sorry.
perdón.
Please. Thanks. Feel free.
I'm sorry, Larissa, we have two questions. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. It's Christian from Open North in Canada. So I guess this question is for Flora, and maybe we can talk about it later. But for those of us working in a local context, how can we be involved with the drafting that you guys are doing as well? You've mentioned there will be mechanisms, but just wondered if you could talk a little bit more about that. And then the second point is more, we came up with some resources at my organization recently on data partnerships. So I'm just going to drop those because you guys are all working on that in your context. So figure that might be useful. Good to see everyone.
Good to see you, Christian. Yeah, so like I would say the best way of engaging through the drafting process is actually organizing a consultation. I mean, we can find a coalition of civil society organizations such as the Open Data Charter that already did a consultation for the Global Digital Compact, Open North. Well, in the Digital Rights Project, we have already been collaborating with you guys. So I would say let's find a moment we can host a consultation online. Happy to support you with presentations and to support you with the right questions we want to ask to civil society organizations. The most important questions for civil society organizations are regarding the principles and duties of civil society organizations to implement and to uphold all the principles that we have in the framework. But we are also opening up to have feedback on whether we are missing any thematic area or any sub-theme or any duty by a local government. So like happy to follow up on that. We are really looking forward for partnerships to host those consultations.
Hector or Antonio, do you want to make some?
No, well, Open North is one of these organizations that I really follow. So I appreciate all the work that you guys are doing. So we have actually somebody from who was in the past part of Open North here locally in Portland, and yeah, so kudos, good job.
Next, someone want to ask something, please? Sorry, I cannot see it properly.
We have Diogo.
Yeah.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi, good to hear from you, and thank you for the presentations. My question is a little bit for all of us, all the presentations. So in the title, we speak about data ecosystems, and it's ecosystems is a word that is being used a lot in business and also in information communication technologies, but originally it comes from ecology, right? From environment, so somehow related to energy and all these kind of things. And especially now with generative AI and all this kind of AI energy consumption, there is this awareness that electronic systems have always, but now we are more aware that they're consuming a lot of energy. Are these spaces that you are working on somehow monitoring or evaluating the energy that is consumed by these open data portals and open data infrastructures, or this is something that is like a different issue and is being worked by other groups of people? Thank you.
In my case, the second option, we are not monitoring this consuming, no? That is, as you are saying, it's very important, but it is not part of our research. But it's true. Sorry, Flor.
Sorry, Antonio, to interrupt you. In our case, sustainability is one of the key pillars of the international guidelines, and we are providing recommendations on like measuring the digital footprint of technologies and also deciding whether a technology that is super, like it has a lot of impact on the environment should be implemented or not in a city. Some cities, for example, the city of Brussels is already asking that question. They have a green IT plan where they actually ask public servants to demonstrate that this technology might not be affecting too much, or let's say it has a balance between the impact it has for citizens, but also the impact it has for the environment. And in this ecosystem, the environment is also a stakeholder. So we also have to make sure that we produce and we use technologies that are actually environmentally friendly. And another thing is actually reusing, for example, existing equipment. It's not only about software and how software consumes. There's also, let's say, a hardware part of the equation, which is like, are we actually reusing the devices that, for example, the public administration is not using anymore? Of course, you have to take care of cybersecurity, and this is how you need to have like a whole approach, right? You have to have cybersecurity policies in place in order to make these devices secure enough to be and not to end up as e-waste, let's say. But yeah, of course, part of the consultation it will be around yes, these things, sustainability and sustainable business models that can leverage the impactful outcomes of technologies, but also balance the impact it has in the environment.
Yeah, in Portland, locally, we have very quickly, we have a sustainable procurement track that honestly, it hasn't been really very well explored yet. It was developed before COVID. And before COVID, we were actually on the smart cities projects. We were actually trying to do the right thing. COVID happened, and then the main priority has been economic recovery and some other goals, and then I think we need to retake all this track again. Yes, definitely we see a friction between economic development, so having data centers around, and Oregon is actually blessed with a lot of water. And we notice that there are new data centers planned in Oregon, or the semiconductor industry also has some like benefits of being and develop infrastructure here. And however, it's just this kind of trade-off between energy, water consumption, and benefits, and who gets the benefits in general. So that was part of our conversation recently on an AI event that we had a couple of weeks ago. People are concerned about that. We need to work on that.
In Europe, just to add that in Europe also after COVID, a lot of sustainability measures went backwards, especially focusing on economic development. So in Europe is the same. Also, we are going backwards in many situations.
I want to offer one spoiler to you all that you have a section for the next month that you talk about GovTech and new business model related open data and how you can bring it for the cities, etc. And discuss a bit about public procurement. So I'm happy that you tell me to you, and I hope that you can stay with us in the next steps. So I pass the last words to Nati or someone that want to make comments. We have some 1 minute yet. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias a todos y todas.
Thank you so much to every single one of you. I think it's been a super interesting session. And I think we are back on the track of having a blog so that we can actually pursue our conversations after every one of the sessions. So every one of our speakers is going to be getting an email from Larissa so that you can write about the experiences that you've just shared. Of course, we are going to be sharing the videos on YouTube once they are ready. Once again, thank you so much for being with us today. And as Larissa said, next month we're going to be having another one, just as usual. And I hope every one of you will be able to join. And for those of you that feel represented, happy Open Government Week. And I hope I will be able to meet you in one of the sessions that are taking place during the week.